Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Aligned Soul. Thank you so much for coming by. Today, Earth signs, it's all about you. We're going to be looking at anything and everything that you need to know for the month of December. So that means all of you Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, we're chatting all about you. And we're going to be looking at all areas of life. We're going to be taking a look at your relationships, your financial life, and anything and everything, anything guidance that you can use to really help you for the month of December to kind of really like move through the month with ease. So without further ado, why don't we just dive right in? And of course, if this is the first time that we're meeting, thank you so much for coming by. My name is Meshi and I'm an intuitive healer and a reader. And I generally update you guys every single month for the following month, give you any predictions that you need to hear. And on this channel, we talk about anything and everything spirituality, how we can really apply principle teachings, spiritual teachings in everyday life in the most tangible way, and how we can also use tarot in the most practical way so that it actually enhances your life. We look at law of attraction, we look at astrology, and all things woo to really enhance your life. So if that sounds good, you would probably really enjoy it here. Okay, you guys, timestamp is going to be in the description and in the comment section as well. So just hop on over to your own reading and let's get started. So Taurus, you are up first. Okay, one thing I wanted to mention briefly before we get started actually is the framework that I'm going to be using, that I started using with your reading, is actually to take a look at what is it that you need to release, what is it that you need to embrace that's here to kind of guide you, and what is and why, and then what is here as like a supportive system. So let's take a look, Taurus. What do you need to release? The will. You need to release this idea. To me, this is all about like really shining, really being seen for maybe for the wrong thing. You know what I mean? I do believe that sometimes it's really wonderful when you're really out there, really strong in that masculine energy. But for some reason, right now, I feel like you're actually being invited to look more within rather than to shine outwards. And I mean, that's kind of going to be an interesting concept if we're looking at really what does December generally entail. Well, it entails a lot of get-togethers, being around a lot of people. Perhaps it has something to do with the fact that who you are around, they don't really see you the way that you think that they see you. But let's take a look at what else is coming up. What can you embrace instead? Instead of shining constantly and trying to bring light to everything that you do and everything that you are, how can we shift away from that and actually embrace something different? So we have the bear medicine. There's no tomorrow without the healing of the past, for is stillness. You shall find yourself right where you are. I think that this talks about really just what does the bear do in the middle of winter? It goes into hibernation. And I feel like right now you're really moving into that season where you're actually going to find more wisdom and more healing for yourself to go within rather than to shine outwards too much. So to rather than to kind of just be in like maybe just being around a lot of people, a lot of energies is not the most productive thing for you. It's not the most it's not for your highest good. It might actually be more like an obligation and more than anything else. So just maybe just take some time throughout the month to actually reconnect with your own body and see what you need before you kind of get out there and start serving others. I very much feel like you're going to be going into the season of hibernation for some reason. Perhaps is to have a look at what is not serving you, have a look at like how things, really take a moment during the month of December to really reflect what is working, what is not working, and how you really want to pivot moving into 2022. And my question was, why? So what can we release, what can we embrace, and why? Again, it goes back to that whole idea of it's just a shut your mouth and listen and stop talking. I think that it goes back to constantly out and sharing and light and look at me, and like this whole idea of constantly just allowing you to be the center of attention instead of really taking time to actually listen and listen to people around you listen to your own intuition, listen to what it is that you truly need, and really tuning back into what you think you need versus what you're actually expecting yourself, of how others expecting you to show up. So there's going to be a big difference between the two. And then to kind of help you guide along, like really understanding. So this is here to really help you. And then here's your why. It's because you really need to start connecting back into the roots, back to taking care of your money, taking care of your home, taking care of your environment, taking care of your root foundation, so that you can start building on that. And when we're constantly out, it's really hard to do that. When we're constantly sharing and pushing energy outwards, it's going to be really difficult to do that when we don't create that space. I'm kind of feeling like right now what you will actually need is you need more space more than anything else, rather than being in people's energies too much, rather than really picking up on other people's energies way too much. So I feel like here it's constantly being in that limelight and being in, it's almost like right now what I'm getting is to honor your own seasons, see what that really looks like, and finish up, like wrap up the projects, whatever you're working on, where perhaps, like if it's with your work, when you cannot be out there and be seen and heard, right? But there's a big difference between like finishing up a cycle. So it's almost like this is going to be all about you actually completing that cycle, finishing that cycle, let it come to culmination. And then after that, knowing that like the next phase that you will actually need to take care of is to go back into hibernation, to really reconnect with yourself and really ask yourself honestly, what is it that I need? How do I really want to show up in the new year? How do I want to show up how do I want to really show up with my family, with my loved ones? What is the best version of me really sound like, right? And that can only come from taking time, creating space, and really listening versus constantly sharing, right? And then that goes back to like, it's literally going to be like taking a look at your root foundation that you're standing on. Perhaps connecting back to your practices, doing more grounding work is going to be really helpful. So all of those things are going to be really healing for you. And let's take a look at what the tarot has to say for us. Here we go. So we have the Two of Swords, the Queen of Wands, the Five of Cups, and then the Nine of Wands in reverse. So this whole idea, I feel like this whole idea with the Two of Wands and with the waxing gibbous moon, what you need to release, this is why you need to release it, because you can't just close your eyes. You can't just, I feel like it was sort of like the way that you're sharing, the way that you're being out there right now is really a diversion. It's so that you don't have to look at the things that are really aching you, the things that are really not really bringing balance into your life. It's more just a distraction, right? And if you connect back to and really embrace this idea of going within, then you can actually create some momentum and move forward. But like, you're going to find some inner power within that. You know what I mean? There's not only serious wisdom within having the courage to take a look at maybe it's shadow work, maybe something will get triggered this month, but I definitely feel like this is going to be all about taking a hold of your emotions and really creating a plan that you really want to create, rather than creating a plan, or rather than doing things because other people are sort of expecting you to. There's a really big difference between the two. And I mean, I think that the more you kind of talk, the reason why you need to spend more time in listening is because you've been complaining a lot, or you will be complaining a lot, or like a lot of the things that you're talking about are just sort of regurgitating the problem. You're not really focused on what is working in your life, but you're really focused on what is not. You're still focused on the pains of the past. And in order for you to really release that, you need to go back to within and really have a hard look at what is working for you and what is not, right? But then the other part of it with your root chakra, I feel like it's like You have all of these different things that are going, that are trying to like create movement for you, but you can't move forward. Like you're feeling stuck. Until you kind of take care of your base, you're not really going to be creating too much momentum. It's always going to feel like you're taking one step forward and 5 steps back. You know what I mean? And the more you're talking about the problem, that's not really going to be the solution. Talk about the things that you actually want to create in your life. Talk about the things that you want to manifest. How do you actually want to feel? What is it that you really want to manifest in your life, instead of like focus on the things that you do want versus the things that you don't want? Because I feel like while there is wisdom in venting, there is wisdom in all of that. But I also think that at one point it can shift into the direction that you really don't want. So that's essentially what I'm getting from here, that it's like spend more time inwards and see what wisdom comes through, see what breakthroughs are coming through. We are definitely moving into the season where things are kind of, it can slow down for some. And I think that you guys are Tauruses, you guys are definitely going to be challenged and really have a look at what's actually going on inside your heart, instead of what's sort of happening on the outside world. Because sometimes what you're feeling inside is not really matching what's actually happening outside. But the more you're allowing your thoughts to kind of culminate in the direction that you don't want, the more you're going to be manifesting circumstances and scenarios with family, scenarios with your relationship that you might not actually want. So just be very careful of like how you speak for the month, because this can really bite you in the butt. This is all I have for you, Taurus. Stay tuned until the very end, where I can pull a couple of manifestation cards to kind of help you, guide you along for the month of December. On to Capricorn. Hello, Capricorn. How are you? Welcome to your reading. So today's reading is going to be taking on a framework of what you need to release, what you need to embrace, what is here to help you, and why. So let's take a look. What you need to release is this idea that you need to live in a bubble. You need to, while it's wonderful when you're setting proper boundaries, but sometimes you can actually push people in the midst of that. And it's like, how can you break through that idea? How can you allow beautiful things to grow from this isolation? You cannot put yourself in like this glass bubble and think that you're going to be always protected from the world. I think that while you're doing that, Virgo, I also think that it's also creating a lot of isolation and friction. And I think that you guys are really feeling inner pain, that hunger for connection with people, for connection with, with the right people, with the right souls that really wanted to connect with you, but you're so isolated that they have no idea how to really connect with you. So try to let go of this idea, or just like loosen up the grip a little bit on what does it mean for you to create distance and being, for the sake of being safe, because you're also isolating yourself from the experiences. You're robbing yourself from the experiences that could actually help you moving forward, especially in the month of December. Okay, Virgo, let's see what you can embrace instead. Isn't that funny? You would need to embrace the community. You would need to embrace anyone and everyone that you consider your family. Thy love is present in the presence of thee, a comforting veil that warms the heart and hugs the soul. Exactly. I feel like you guys are so hungry for that deep connection with the family, for the traditions. This will be your time to really tap into that, to tap into like, what are your family traditions? If you don't have a lot of them, maybe start incorporating a few of them, because I think that it's going to be really, really healing from the inside out for most of you. I also feel like really reconnecting with family, with distant family that you perhaps haven't had a chance to talk to in a while. See how they're doing. Just getting a different perspective can sometimes be the best thing for us, because we get so wrapped up in our day-to-day of how we're doing things and what we're doing things, that's all we think sometimes that exists in our world. And really, like, there's this whole other world outside of that. So just keep that in mind, that you keeping yourself isolated in a bubble is actually hurting you right now. Embracing people that are around you that you consider your family is going to be really, really helpful for you guys for the month of December. And let's see. No, this is why. Loosen the fuck up. And control freaks don't. Basically, the idea is to loosen up. To loosen up, so to loosen up the grip of how you do things. So don't be so stubborn about how things need to be. You need to kind of loosen up. I feel like you guys have been so stubborn and so rigid in the way that you guys are doing things that is making you miserable, ultimately. That's kind of what I'm getting here. I feel like you forgot to connect with the people that you need to connect with. You forgot like what is the importance of that, and really how can that actually be the most healing thing for you. And I also think that you got caught up in the hustle and bustle of all of the things, instead of really focusing on like what is actually here to help you. And all of the people that are here to support you, that plus really loosening the grip and being a little bit more flexible on the how you get what you want. You can still get what you want, but it's just you don't have to control every element of that ultimately, right? And here's why. And if you do that, it's because really like you have all of the things that you desire on the other side. Like the sun is shining, but yet we're still focused on like, but you would never know because you kind of lock yourself in a bubble, right? How can you ever feel the sunshine on your skin if you never allow yourself to go outside? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that that's going to be like the ultimate lesson for you guys for this month, for all of you Virgos. That's going to be like the biggest lesson is how can we break out of the shell that we created for ourselves, and just know that as much as you created it, you can also break that. It's made out of glass. You can break it at any moment. You can remove the glass. You can step out of it. You can step out into the light and you will be okay. Just knowing that you will be safe, and also gathering people around you that are here to support you, I think is going to be key. I think it's knowing who to call, having those conversations with family that are really going to be there to support you is going to be key. I think it's also loosening up your grip on how you relate to your work. Perhaps like stop pushing so hard, and know that when you loosen up, then you can actually make a bigger impact overall than what you thought you could. Let's see what the tarot has to say for you, Virgo. Okay, so we have Page of Pentacles, we have Seven of Cups, we have the Strength card, and we have the Five of Swords. Let's unpack, shall we? So with the Page of Pentacles, I feel like you thought that while if you are sort of away from all of it, if you kind of create your own little bubble, your own little world, your own little universe, then I think that you got trapped in this idea because you thought that this will actually be the best thing for you, and you didn't know any better, you were naive, but then also it was just one of those things where you just thought that you will just worry about you create your own little thing and everybody else can do whatever they want to do. And I also think that in the midst of that, it also kind of got you trapped because you're trying to follow too many things all at once, and it gets overwhelming, right? It's sort of like, what is my next goal? Am I going after the career? Am I going after the hot body? Am I going after manifesting? What are we manifesting here? And I think that getting caught up in all of the choices and being overwhelmed, I think that is more of the reason why you need the people around you to really help you, support you. Knowing that you have this inner strength, this inner wisdom within you if you allow it to come through. But the only way that this can really come through is if you create space for that. And you need to remove the glass bubble. Have I said that enough yet? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I also think that there is that sense of, I think that because like the whole thing with like trying to control every aspect of how things are manifesting or how things are going to happen, I think has a lot more to do with just this fear that I will get you before you get me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like I will get there first. Like this really, it's like this really, it's not a vicious energy, but it's definitely like, I will get you first, right? It's sort of like jumping the gun so that you get to the finish line first, so that you get the promotion first. So it's sort of like a little bit competitive, but a little bit more like little sense of, a little bit of fear of abandonment. You know what I mean? Is the fear of losing out, the fear that you will be disappointed down the line. I feel that you guys are working very hard to create something beautiful, but at the same time, it's wearing you out. And ultimately, if you can, it's sort of like if you can loosen your grip on your idea of what is success, on what is a balanced family, or what is a balanced relationship, what does that look like for you? If you can loosen your grip on that of how it manifests, you're actually creating space, right? And then you can actually get there with a lot more ease, with a lot more grace. You can get there a lot more effortlessly than when you have to feel like you have to push so hard all the time. So I think that this will be the number one thing, is for you to really release this idea that you need to be so isolated, and so isolated in the way that it's not just a physical isolation. I feel like this is more of a mental isolation, where you don't want to be involved with family, when you don't care what's going on with so and so, but really you just completely you pulled the plug and you completely got disconnected. It's almost like you got disconnected from life, you know. Use this time in December to really get connected back into family values, connected back into traditions, connected back into what actually matters down the road versus what you thought was the most important thing that can get you success. This is all I have for you, Capricorns. Virgos. This is what I have for you, Virgos. Stay tuned until the very end. Use the timestamp below. And we're going to pull a couple of abundance cards that I think will be helping you for the month of December. Let's go on to Capricorns. Hello, Capricorn. How are you? Welcome to your reading for the month of December. So the new framework that we're going to be using is, the first card is going to be what you need to release. Second card is going to be what you need to embrace. Third one is why, and then how can that help you? So let's take a look at all of that before we hop on over to the tarot. So what do you need to release for the month of December? Oh, Beaver Moon, the creation. I think that you need to release this idea of constantly being in your head and constantly creating and constantly feeling like you need to make something new. You need to renew something, constantly contemplating, sowing the plans, you know, this idea of constantly being on, right? Constantly, like, there's never a break, right? There isn't a time when you can just like sit and rest and chill out. There's always like a new idea, a new business idea, a new way that you want to do things. Like there's something new all the time. When you're constantly in a creation mode, then it's like, but when will you allow it space for it to become the thing that it becomes, when you're already onto the next thing and onto the next thing, right? What do you need to embrace instead? Father Christmas. How did I get here? Lost perhaps? No worries at all. Gather yourself and clear the frost, and good, for the good still lives in you, dear. I wanted to read the book on this just because I find it so fascinating. What list will you be on this year? Naughty or nice? Father Christmas, Santa Claus, Old Saint Nick, even Krampus are critical figures in holiday celebration, and we know these archetypes as the jolly old man who judges whether we are worthy of gifts if you were kind-hearted, or lumps of coal if you were terrible. You may have grown up and stopped worrying about getting gifts for the holiday, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be mindful of how your energy manifests in the world. And you are being guided to share a little kindness and ask yourself, what would the best version of myself do in this situation? Keep in mind that as you go about your day, and see how this simple question can dramatically shift your perspective. Kindness costs nothing but can reward you in endless blessings. Okay, so when we're looking at, here's what you're releasing, here's what you should embrace. What you should really embrace in all of this, if you get one thing out of this, it's simply this. You need to release this idea of constantly being out there, creating, and really contemplating things, and really come back to who you are as a person. How are you showing up? In what areas are you bringing kindness to people around you? Are you actually showing up with the right energy? To me, this is all about, are you embracing ultimately the teachings of Christmas, if you want to really relate it back to that? And here's why. It has to come back to gratitude. And just understanding that things could be so much worse. This is why, like, if you're constantly seeking outside of yourself, right? Then it will always feel like you're trying to fill this bottomless hole. It will always feel like you're lacking, right? And it's not to say that you shouldn't be working on creating, you shouldn't be contemplating on new ideas, on really perfecting things, but there's a time and a place for that. At some point you have to kind of always create some space for you to really see, okay, how is this working for me, and is this really allowing me to become the person that I really want to become? How am I showing up in my relationships? How am I showing up at my work? What is the version of me that is showing up? Is it the best version of me, or can we kind of work on that, right? And here's why. Because ultimately you are the ultimate creator. The whole reason why this is coming up is so that you understand that you have nothing left to prove. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You are the ultimate creator. You have all of the wisdom already within you. It's just a matter of, can you tap into that? And sometimes you can tap into so much more by really focusing on how you're showing up within your relationships, how you're showing up within certain circumstances, with the opportunities that you're given, and what is your general outlook. That's what I'm kind of getting here, Capricorns, is that ultimately what you really need to focus on and hone in on for the month of December is more, it has more to do with your attitude toward things and towards people and towards your relationships than what is actually unfolding for you. It's not about grasping and chasing. It's very much about, can you slow it down? Can you actually take a moment before you react, right? Okay, let's see what the tarot has to say. All right, so we have the Nine of Swords, the Four of Pentacles, the Hermit, and the King of Cups. Let's unfold. So I think that this whole idea of like constantly being in the flow of always coming up with new ideas, always creating, always contemplating new ideas. What can you do? What is the next thing? What is like this constant energy that you have about you? It has a lot more to do with this fear of waking up one day and really feeling like you missed your opportunity. I feel like that's why you need to really release that. But I also feel like with creating certain boundaries and creating certain, and really hanging on to more of not so much the material things, but really hanging on to and really creating sacred space for what is outside of that. What is really outside of that, right? Like, can we really understand like meaning beyond the physical of what you can buy? Like, I think that what you're really starting to understand, or you will be really be invited to understand, is to embrace something that is outside of just chasing the money and going with the flow and, you know, getting the promotion. Like, this is something where you need to be in energetic alignment in order for you to truly manifest inner and outer wealth, right? Physical wealth and abundance in all areas of your life. And that's what this is all about. And perhaps part of that will have to do with really just closing the door on things, really disconnecting from things a little bit, so that you can really see how abundantly provided for you are. Because sometimes you have a hard time seeing it when you're so interconnected and you're spending more of your time comparing rather than just seeing what's in front of you. How is that relationship going? Because if you're constantly nitpicking at it, then you're always going to find something fault at it, right? You're always going to find something that is not working, or that we could always improve, right? But not seeing in how many ways you're blessed is sort of like you're shortchanging your life. And the other thing is to take a hold of your energy and really manage your own emotions the way that you want to manage them, rather than letting it kind of take you on a, really allowing you to get a hold of your emotions. Can you manage them? Because if you can, then you have the ultimate control, right? This is all I have for you, Capricorn. Stay tuned until the end so I can pull a couple of cards for the collective that can guide you for the month of December. So let's go. Okay, you guys, we've made it until the end. Let's take a look at collectively, to all my earth signs, what can be used as guidance that can help you guys for the month of December. What can be used as guidance? Here we go. So true manifestations are powered by by service and love. And my super attractor power comes from how I feel, my faith in love, and the joy I put out. Very fitting if you look at like the readings that each of you guys had collectively, because really like most of you are interested in seeing how can I manifest more beautiful things in my life? How can I manifest the relationship that I really want? How can I manifest all of those things? And really it kind of comes back to, if you want, you need to be in alignment with what you want to manifest, but what you should really ultimately start from is service and love. It should be a service to others, as well as it should be powered by heart-centered creations. And the way that you're going to be attracting all of those things will be based on how much faith you have in the things that you're manifesting, and how much joy, how much energetically, how much are you tapping into the things that really light you up. Can you do that for the month of December? Can you take some time, figure out what lights you up, and continuously tap into more of what you want rather than the things that you really don't serve you? Can you do that with your work? Can you do that within your relationship? The way that you're interacting with your family, the way that you show up for your workouts, instead of dreading it, can we actually look at it like, do the thing that actually makes you happy? Can you do that? Because if you can, then you're actually going to be accelerating the way that you're going to be manifesting the things that you want in your life, instead of constantly getting more and more piled on something that you never really wanted in the first place. I hope that this has resonated, Earth signs. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all of the beautiful things for you guys. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe if you haven't yet already. And I will see you guys again in my next one. Bye.